Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Shankar AS Academy. Displayed are the list of news articles taken for today's analysis and their page numbers in different editions of the newspaper. The link for the handwritten notes in the PDF format and the timestamping of the discussed articles are provided in the description box and also in the comment section for the benefit of mobile phone viewers. Now let's move on to the analysis of first news article.
This editorial article discusses about Monetary Policy Committee. The syllabus relevant for the analysis of this editorial is highlighted here for your reference. See, when we say monetary policy, it refers to the policy of the central bank, here the Reserve Bank of India, with regard to the use of monetary instruments under its control so as to achieve the goals specified in the RBI Act of 1934. Simply, we can say monetary policy is related to regulating matters like interest rates, money supply, availability of credit with a view to achieve economic growth. The preamble of RBI Act states that the primary objective of the monetary policy is to maintain price stability, keeping in mind the objective of growth. And know that the Reserve Bank of India is vested with the responsibility of operating the monetary policy framework in our country. This is mentioned in the preamble of RBI Act 1934. Now in May 2016, this legislation, RBI Act of 1934, was amended so as to provide a statutory basis for the implementation of flexible inflation targeting framework so as to maintain price stability. The amended legislation provides for the central government to set inflation target in consultation with RBI once in every 5 years. This is as per section 45 capital Z capital A. So in pursuance of this, the central government has notified in the official gazette that 4% CPI inflation is the target for the period from August 5, 2016 to March 31, 2021. The upper tolerance limit is 6% and the lower tolerance limit is 2%. That is 4 plus or minus 2%. According to section 45 ZA of RBI Act 1934, whatever policy rate that is required to achieve this inflation target, this policy rate is to be determined and adjusted from time to time by the Monetary Policy Committee. Now, adjusting the policy rate so as to achieve the inflation target is the very important role that is carried out by this Monetary Policy Committee. And know that whatever decision that is taken by this Monetary Policy Committee, it is binding on the Reserve Bank of India. And the Monetary Policy Committee is set up as per section 45 ZA of the RBI Act. Now let's come to the composition of this committee. See, it consists of 6 members in total. 3 members are from RBI and 3 members are appointed by the central government. This is as per section 45 ZB. Now, the 3 members who would be appointed by the central government, they are also called as external members. Now, coming to the 3 members from RBI, all of them are ex officio members. Here, the word ex officio refers to by virtue of the office or position. That is, a person becomes chairperson of Monetary Policy Committee by virtue of holding the office of Governor of RBI. Similarly, you can see that Deputy Governor of RBI, who is in charge of monetary policy, is also an ex officio member in this Monetary Policy Committee. Now let's come to the term of office of these members of Monetary Policy Committee. Term of office assumes significance today. Now coming to the 3 members from RBI, we saw they are ex officio members. Therefore, this legislation discusses the term of office of only external members or only those 3 members who are appointed by the central government. Now these 3 external members, they shall hold office for a period of 4 years. And know that they are not eligible for reappointment. This is as per section 45 ZD of RBI Act 1934. Now let's look at how Monetary Policy Committee meetings will happen and how the decisions are taken. See, as per this law, RBI shall organize at least 4 meetings of Monetary Policy Committee in a year. This is as per section 45 ZI of the Act. But know that every 2 months, RBI issues monetary policy statement, and this editorial mentions that the 3rd bi-monthly monetary policy statement for this financial year, that is for financial year 2021, it is to be released today based on the review by the Monetary Policy Committee. Now there is a quorum for this Monetary Policy Committee meeting, and when we say quorum, it refers to the minimum strength that is required to carry out the business of that particular meeting. For Monetary Policy Committee meeting, the quorum is 4 members. And among these 4 members, at least one shall be the governor. And if the governor is absent, then the deputy governor, who is the member of this committee, shall be present. And each member shall have 1 vote. and all questions which come up before any meeting of Monetary Policy Committee shall be decided by a majority of votes by the members present and voting. So what will happen in the event of equality of votes? In the event of equality of votes, the governor shall have a second vote or a casting vote. The vote of each member of the committee for a proposed resolution shall be recorded against such member, and each member shall write a statement wherein they have to specify the reasons for voting in favor of or against the proposed resolution. So this is how the decisions are taken in Monetary Policy Committee. We saw earlier that the decisions taken by Monetary Policy Committee is binding on Reserve Bank of India. Therefore, this act mandates that RBI or the central bank shall publish a document explaining the steps to be taken by it to implement the decisions of Monetary Policy Committee. This is as per section 45 ZJ of the act. So from this discussion so far, we can see that the role of Monetary Policy Committee is important, and because of the statutory quorum requirement of 4 members, the presence of members appointed by the central government or the external members is also equally important. But as this editorial mentions, the central government's failure to appoint its 3 new nominees on time or the delay in appointment has actually delayed the meeting of MPC by a week. See, the 4-year tenure of the earlier nominees actually ended in September, and there was some delay in appointing new members. So this editorial is actually critical of this delay, given the context of present economic situation surrounding the COVID-19 times that the India is facing. So these are some of the information with reference to the analysis of this editorial article. In this editorial, we saw about Monetary Policy Committee, the statutory basis, the amendment that happened in the year 2016, how decisions are taken in MPC, and about quorum, etc. Now let's move on to the analysis of next news article. This news article talks about how 2 patients from Ahmedabad in Gujarat underwent lung transplantation in Chennai during the pandemic. In this context, let us discuss in detail about interstitial lung disease and about extracorporeal membrane oxygenation or ECMO, which are mentioned in this news article. The syllabus relevant for the analysis of this article is highlighted here for your reference. So before going into interstitial lung diseases, let's see in brief about how lungs function. See, lungs are a pair of organs in our chest. They have a spongy texture and they are pinkish grey in color. When we inhale, air enters our lungs and oxygen from the air moves from our lungs to our blood. At the same time, carbon dioxide, which is a waste gas, moves from the blood to the lungs and is exhaled. This process is called as gas exchange, which is essential to life. Now let's come to interstitial lung diseases. When we say ILDs, they are a group of more than 200 different disorders which cause scarring in the lungs. A scar tissue in the lungs can make it very difficult and harder to breathe normally. The scarring is called as pulmonary fibrosis. Know that scarring damages the tissues in and around lungs, air sacs and lungs airways. Here, lung interstitium, it is called as the space where air sacs or alveoli, they come in contact with connective tissue and blood vessels to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. Air sacs refers to spaces that function as part of respiratory system, which are filled with air and are connected with air passages of the lungs. So your lung interstitium is the space where air sacs comes in contact with connective tissues and blood vessels to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. So if a person has an interstitial lung disease, then the interstitial tissue or the space, it becomes thick and stiff, making it harder for oxygen to move out of the lungs into the bloodstream and also harder for carbon dioxide to move out of the bloodstream into the lungs. So what may cause these diseases? There could be genetic factor. It could also be caused by medical conditions, sometimes medications as well, and also by certain autoimmune disorders as well. It can also be caused by long-term exposure to hazardous materials like asbestos. And breathing asbestos can cause tiny asbestos fibers to get stuck in the lungs and it can irritate lung tissues. And when there is scarring in the lungs that is caused by breathing asbestos fibers, that is called as asbestosis. In some cases, the causes remain unknown. See, breathing in dust or breathing other particles in the air is also responsible for some types of interstitial lung diseases. Specific types, we can say black lung disease among coal miners from inhaling coal dust, then farmer's lung from inhaling farm dust, then silicosis from inhaling silica dust. Now let's see the signs and symptoms of interstitial lung diseases. It may include dry cough, shortness of breath, chest discomfort, and also fatigue. Pulmonologists diagnose an interstitial lung disease based on results from diagnostic tests and imaging procedures, including pulmonary function tests and also a chest CT scan. CT stands for computed tomography. Computed tomography refers to radiography where a 3D image of a body structure is constructed by computer from a series of plain cross-sectional images which are made along a particular axis. See, these ILDs can be mild or severe, and the amount of scarring can get worse over a period of time. However, ILD and associated symptoms, they can be treated with medicines, pulmonary rehabilitation, oxygen therapy, or by undergoing lung transplantation. Know that once lung scarring occurs, it is generally irreversible. So what medications can do is they may slow the damage of this interstitial lung disease, but many people never regain full use of their lungs. So lung transplant becomes an option for some people who have this interstitial lung disease. And if untreated, ILDs can lead to complications like growth problems in children, lung cancer, pulmonary hypertension, heart failure, and also respiratory failure. So these are some of the important information with reference to interstitial lung diseases. Now let's discuss extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, which is also mentioned in this article. See, it is a treatment that uses a pump to circulate blood back into the bloodstream of the patient through an artificial lung. Now this system, it provides heart-lung bypass support outside the patient's body. See here, bypass refers to the system, the ECMO system, which temporarily takes over the function of the heart and lungs to maintain the circulation of blood and oxygen content to the patient's body. It is used to support patients who are awaiting a heart or lung transplant. Now, the purpose of ECMO is to provide enough oxygen while allowing time for the lungs and heart to rest or to heal. So here you can observe that the ECMO machine oxygenates blood, where blood having low oxygen level flows to ECMO machine and blood containing oxygen is returned to the patient's body. So this is about ECMO, called as, abbreviated as extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. Now let's move on to the analysis of next news article. This news article talks about the political chaos ongoing in Kyrgyzstan or Kyrgyz Republic. Recently, parliamentary elections were held in the nation. Here know that Kyrgyzstan's parliament is known as Shogurgu Kinyush or the Supreme Council. It is a unicameral national legislature presided over by chairperson or speaker. Shogurgu Kinyush acts as the only national legislature in Kyrgyzstan. Now, according to the constitution of Kyrgyzstan, Shogurgu Kinyush determines the principles for domestic policy, foreign policy. Then it proposes amendments to the constitution, adopts laws, approves the state budget like most of the parliaments, then schedules presidential elections. Then it can impeach the president. It appoints the prime minister. It appoints 1/3 of the constitutional court. And it has several other functions. So given the importance of this unicameral national legislature, the parliamentary elections assumes importance because elections will shape the executive and legislative branches of this Kyrgyzstan government for a period of 5 years. Then the elections are also important because the resulting majority coalition will nominate a candidate for prime minister who will then form a new government. But the issue here is, according to the electoral system of this country, political parties must meet a required threshold of votes separately at the national level and also in terms of each region as well. The parties need to pass the threshold of votes to enter parliament. But in the recent election, only 4 political parties out of 16 parties have passed the threshold for entry into the parliament. This has created widespread protests in the country because in the election, parties allied to Kyrgyzstan's current president have won the largest share of votes. So there are accusations and allegations of mass vote buying and vote rigging. Therefore, the electoral authorities in Kyrgyzstan, they have annulled or cancelled or declared invalid the results of parliamentary elections, and protesters and people participating in democratic actions are demanding for removal of its president Surunbay, who is pro-Russian. The news mentions that the president has held his first talks with parliament to resolve the political chaos. In this context, let us see some geographical details of Kyrgyzstan. See, it's a Central Asian country. It is located along the eastern border of Central Asian region. It borders Kazakhstan in the northwest, and in north it borders China on the east and south. We can see on its west Uzbekistan, then it borders Tajikistan on the south. The speciality here we have to notice, it is a landlocked country. Its capital is Bishkek. Remember, it is one of the countries that separated from Soviet Union and attained independence in the year 1991. If you look at the topography of this country, it is dominated by sharp mountain peaks and valleys, and considerable areas are covered by glaciers. The relatively flat regions, we could say Fergana Valley in southwestern Kyrgyzstan, then Chu and Talas Valley along the northern border. And the terrain of this country is dominated by the Tian Shan mountain system and Pamir mountain system. Together, these two mountain systems, they occupy 65% of the national territory. The Alai range of Tian Shan mountain system, it dominates the southwestern part of the country, and to the east, the main Tian Shan range runs along the boundary between southern Kyrgyzstan and China before the mountain system extends further east into China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The highest peak in Kyrgyzstan is at an altitude of 7,439 meters, which is Chengiz Chokusu, also known as Pik Pobdi or Victory Peak. It is also the highest peak of Tian Shan mountain system. Now, Kyrgyzstan's terrain is too mountainous to grow crops. However, the higher elevation pastures support livestock raising. So other than livestock raising, it's difficult to practice agriculture because of the mountainous terrain. And according to many sources, Kyrgyzstan has no navigable rivers. However, some of its important rivers, we can say Shu River, Narin River, Kara Darya. One of its important lake is Lake Isk, which is also known as Iskol in Kyrgyz or Iskul in Russian. This lake is situated in the northern Tian Shan. Iskol means hot lake because of the fact that it does not freeze during the winter. Some of the reasons which some experts say because of a combination of factors like extreme depth, thermal activity and mild salinity of the lake. These are some reasons why despite winter the lake does not freeze. And one more fact that this lake is a landlocked lake. So these are some of the information with reference to the analysis of this news article. We saw about the political chaos and the reason for the chaos that is happening in Kyrgyzstan. Then we saw some of the important geographical information in terms of prelims perspective. Now let's move on to next part of the discussion. This news article is taken from today's Friday Review column. It talks about an art form called as Kudiyattam. In this context, let us have some understanding about this art form and also about Kathakali. The syllabus relevant for this analysis is highlighted here for your reference. First, let's see about Kudiyattam. See, it is an ancient Sanskrit theatrical art form in the state of Kerala. It is one of the oldest art forms in our country. To be precise, it is around 2000 years old. It's usually performed only in temple theatres known as Kootambalam. Until the first half of 20th century, it is reported that this art form was performed by members of two castes called as Chakyar and Nambyar. However, in the later period, irrespective of caste differences, artists have performed this art form. Here the word Kudiyattam, it literally means acting together. Kudi means together. If you take Bharata's Natya Sastra, there are four methods or four types of acting. They are Ankigam, which is called as expression using different parts of the body. Then Vajigam, which refers to expression through speech. Then Satvigam, which refers to expression of physical reactions to emotions. Then Aharyam, which refers to expression through costume, ornaments and props. The speciality of Kudiyattam performance is that all these four methods are present in the Kudiyattam. It uses elaborate costume and heavy makeup. If you see a typical Kudiyattam performance, it involves elaborate and lengthy acting sequences using hand gestures and using distinctive modes of acting like Ilahiyattam, Paharanattam, then Irunattam. They say that only through rigorous training for many years one can aspire to master this craft of Kudiyattam. And for us, the art form is important as it has been accepted as one of the masterpieces of oral and intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO. It is present in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It is also present in the National List for Intangible Cultural Heritage maintained by Ministry of Culture as well. So as we have already mentioned, the Kudiyattam performances, they are based on Sanskrit plays. In the performance, however, only a part of the play will be enacted. Therefore, the performance is not named after the Sanskrit play, but usually in terms of an event that is in focus in the performance. And note that the presentation of a single chapter or single angam from one of the Sanskrit plays, at present it takes up to 8 days, whereas in earlier days it took even up to 41 days to complete a single chapter in the Sanskrit plays. Now coming to the instruments that are used in this art form, the main instrument used as accompaniment is Milavu. Other instruments include Idakka, Shanku, Kurumkulal, then Kulithalam. Now, some of the famous temples where Koothamballams or temple theatres take place for Kudiyattam performance, we can say Thirumandam Kunnu Temple, Thiruvarpu, then Thiruvalattur in Kodumba village, then Guruvayur Temple, then Vadakamnathan Temple in Kerala. So these are some of the information with reference to Kudiyattam. Now let's see about the famous art form Kathakali of Kerala. See, it is a classical dance form of Kerala. It originated in the 18th century AD. Like most other classical dance forms of India, Kathakali is also based on Natya Shastra. The most important aspect of Kathakali is its eye movements and hand gestures. However, Kathakali relies on Hasta Lakshana Deepika, which is another classical text for its hand gestures. Now, Kathakali is believed to have evolved from Ramanattam, which is another classical art form composed by Kottarakara Tamburan, or the ruler of Kottarakara. Kottarakara is in Kollam district of Kerala. It is also believed to be originated from Krishnanattam, Chakiyar Kuthu, Kudiyattam also. It is also said that Kathakali have been heavily influenced from a form of martial art called as Kalaripayattu, which again originated in Kerala. Now, there is a previous year question in UPSC prelims in this ancient martial art form called Kalaripayattu. Now note that Kathakali incorporates techniques of some of the major ritual art forms of Kerala. It has different components or steps. These are Keli, Arangu Keli, Thodiyam, Vandana Slogam, Purapadu, Melapadam, Kathabinayam, Dhanashi. In total, Kathakali needs 6 to 8 hours to present the complete version of a Kathakali play. Now coming to the characters in this Kathakali, there are 7 types of characters usually present in Kathakali. You could find Pacha referring hero, Katti, Thadi, Kari, Minukku, Tepu, then Payappu. Most important thing with respect to Kathakali here, the characters of Kathakali do not speak. The story is presented through songs from the background. So this makes Kathakali music a very important component of this art form. The text of Kathakali songs is known as Attakada. The music is called Sobhana Sangeetham. And know that Sobhana Sangeetham has now become an independent music, that it is performed independently in temples and on stages. Mattalam, Chengila, Idakka, Ilathalam, Shangu, Chenda are the instruments used with Kathakali music. The performance of this art form usually acquire long years of training. Now let's come to similarities and differences between Kudiyattam and Kathakali. See, the basic similarities lie in the use of elaborate costumes that include use of masks, use of acting techniques that involve use of eyes and facial expressions. However, there exists a major difference that while Kathakali involves use of separate vocalist, Kudiyattam requires the dancer to sing along while performing. So this is the major difference. With this, we come to the end of this discussion where we saw about Kudiyattam and Kathakali. Now let's move on to next part of the discussion. This article states that Air Chief Marshal commended the extraordinary role played by Indian Air Force during the standoff in eastern Ladakh. The statements were reportedly made in an address on the occasion of Air Force Day yesterday. See, Indian Air Force is the air arm of Indian Armed Forces. The primary mission of Indian Air Force is to secure Indian airspace, then to conduct aerial warfare during armed conflict. It is headquartered in New Delhi. It has 7 commands for effective command and control, which are given here for your reference. Under these commands, there are different stations and units which are located at various places throughout the country. And note that Indian Air Force was officially established on 8th October 1932. This day is called as the Foundation Day of Indian Air Force. This is the reason why we celebrate October 8th as the Air Force Day. The first flight of Air Force came into being in the year 1933. At that time, the strength was 6 officers and 19 air soldiers or Hawaii Sepoys. By the time of Second World War, Indian Air Force had 16 officers and around 650 men. In 1939, British government appointed a committee called as Chatfield Committee. The purpose of this committee was to reassess the problems concerning the defense of India. This committee proposed re-equipment of Royal Air Force squadrons that are based in India. It did not make any important suggestions for accelerating the slow growth of Indian Air Force. But the committee suggested a scheme to raise 5 flights on a voluntary basis so as to assist in the defense of principal ports. Therefore, 5 flights were established, one at Madras, then at Bombay, then at Calcutta, then Karachi, then at Cochin. Then finally, 6th flight was formed at Visakhapatnam. This Air Force, it lent its support to the British during the World War II. One of the legendary heroes of Indian Air Force, Sri K.K. Majumdar, he was rated as one of the 12 best pilots of Allied Air Forces during the World War II. The stimulus provided by this World War II raised the Royal Indian Air Force personnel strength to around 28,500, including some 1,600 officers. The month of October 1946, the British thought of expanding the existing 10 squadrons into a balanced force of 20 fighter, bomber and transport squadrons. However, because of the changing political situation in India, the definitive decisions concerning Indian defense were to be left to the emerging government of independent India. And because of division of the country in 1947, that is because of partition, Indian Air Force had lost many permanent bases and other establishments. And in January 1950, India became a republic, thereby dropped the prefix Royal in Royal Indian Air Force, and the Air Force became Indian Air Force. However, an Indian became Chief of Air Staff of Indian Air Force only on 1st April 1954 with Air Marshal Subrato Mukherjee, who was one of the founding members of Air Force, took over as the first Indian Chief of Air Staff. So these are some of the information with reference to this news article. We saw why Indian Air Force Day is celebrated on October 8 and few information related to the history of Indian Air Force. Now let's move on to next part of the discussion. We have come to the last session, the practice questions discussion session. This question is with reference to Coodiyattam. The question reads, consider the following statements with reference to Coodiyattam sometimes seen in the news. 2 statements are given. They are asking which of the statements are incorrect. It is a theatrical art form of Kerala with the speciality that it is purely based on Malayalam language. Now this statement is incorrect. It is not based in Malayalam. It is an ancient Sanskrit theatrical art form of the state of Kerala. So answer should have first statement. So you can eliminate options B and D. Second statement, it is inscribed by UNESCO on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Now this statement is correct. Question asks for incorrect statement, therefore the correct answer is option A, 1 only. This is a previous year question asked in 2014 prelim. The question reads, with reference to India's culture and tradition, what is Kalaripayattu? The correct answer for this question is option D. It is an ancient martial art and a living tradition in some parts of South India, mainly Kerala. We have discussed in detail about Kalaripayattu in our daily news analysis on 28th December 2019. This question is with reference to Monetary Policy Committee. They are asking which of the following statements about MPC are not correct. 4 statements are given. It is a 3-member committee. The statement is not correct because it is a 6-member committee. So answer should contain first statement. So you can eliminate options B and C. Within A and D, we have to just to find which statement, whether second statement or third statement is incorrect to arrive at the correct answer. Second statement says it consists of members from RBI only. The statement is incorrect because 3 members are from RBI, they become ex officio members, and 3 members are appointed by the central government. Once you confirm that the second statement is incorrect, you can directly arrive at the correct answer, option D, 1 and 2 only. The third statement states its decision is binding on RBI, which is correct. And fourth statement, RBI shall organize at least 4 meetings of Monetary Policy Committee in a year. This statement is also correct. But RBI conducts bi-monthly Monetary Policy Committee meetings. For this financial year, they have scheduled to meet 5 times before March 31, 2021. Question asks incorrect statements. So the correct answer is option D, 1 and 2 only. Now this is a previous year question on Monetary Policy Committee asked in the year 2017. They are asking which of the following statements are correct. 3 statements are given. See the first statement. It decides the RBI's benchmark interest rates. Now, this statement is a correct statement. Second statement, it is a 12-member body. It's not a 12-member body, it is a 6-member body. It functions under the chairmanship of Union Finance Minister is incorrect. It functions under the chairmanship of Governor of RBI, who is its ex officio chairperson. Correct answer, option A, one only. See this question. In 1939, the British government in the UK appointed Chatfield Committee to reassess higher education system in India, problems concerning the defense of India. Correct answer is option B. This question is with reference to interstitial lung diseases. They have given a description. They are asking which of the following can cause ILDs. The description states ILDs cause scarring in the lungs and makes it harder for oxygen to move out of the lungs and into the bloodstream, and for carbon dioxide to move out of the bloodstream and into the lungs. Which of the following can cause ILDs? Autoimmune disorders, inhaling coal and silica dust, exposure to asbestos, all the above. The correct answer is option D. We discussed all these aspects in our analysis. This question is with reference to a country which has following characteristics. 4 characteristics are given. They are asking which one of the following countries has all the above characteristics. 1, it is a landlocked country. You see the options. It has China and Turkey. These 2 countries are not landlocked countries. You can easily eliminate these 2 options, A and C. We have Kyrgyzstan and Belarus. Both are landlocked countries. Second statement, its terrain is dominated by Tian Shan and Pamir mountain systems. So if you know basic geography related to these mountain systems, you can easily arrive at the correct answer, because Belarus is a European country. Tian Shan is a great mountain system of Central Asia. Tian Shan is one of the largest mountain ranges in the world, and it is a World Heritage Site of UNESCO. Tian Shan mountain system is declared as 2 natural World Heritage Sites. One is Xinjiang portion of Tian Shan, referred as Xinjiang Tian Shan. Then the other is Western Tian Shan. The Xinjiang Tian Shan is a natural World Heritage Site of China. Western Tian Shan is a natural World Heritage Site of 3 countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. So only one country matches the very first 2 characteristics, Kyrgyzstan. Third statement, its higher elevation pastures support livestock raising. See, Kyrgyzstan, if you take, it is dominated by sharp mountain peaks and valleys, and its terrain is too mountainous, and therefore it's difficult to grow crops. However, higher elevation pastures support livestock raising. And statement 4 is also correct with reference to Kyrgyzstan. Its important lake, Isk Kol, never freezes. It's a landlocked lake. Correct answer, option B, Kyrgyzstan. With this, we come to the end of today's The Hindu News Analysis. If you like the video, click the like button, comment, share and subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel for more updates and content on civil service exam preparation.